believe it or not, I used or tested 100 new or new to me eyeshadow palettes in 2024. 100. That is a lot. Only 25 made my top 25 list. So if you want to see which ones those are, keep on watching. Hello, my gorgeous ones. Welcome to Alicia Budget Beauty. My name is Alicia. Here on my channel, I love all things affordable, fashion, beauty, and fragrance. I do hauls, tutorials, reviews, end of the year best of lists, all sorts of fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe, stick around, be a friend. So yes, you guys, I counted them up and I may be a few shy of 100 or a few over 100. It was a little bit hard because some of them I've already decluttered and moved out of my collection, out of my house, and I was having to really think back to which ones those were. But yes, I either purchased or were sent 100 eyeshadow palettes in 2024. Now, you guys, this has been a year of me scaling back on eyeshadow palettes. I have not purchased as many as I did in the years past. I would say over half of these I was probably gifted. I didn't count how many I purchased, but it was not as many as years before. I mean, I've had years where I purchased 100 eyeshadow palettes. That was not the case this year. It's probably more anywhere between 30, somewhere around there. So the rest of them were probably PR, but there were a lot of really great ones this year. There were some not so great ones. Honestly, a lot of the ones that I decluttered were ones I got in Ipsy or BoxyCharm. It's very rare if I keep their eyeshadow palettes because I don't believe that they put the best quality in there. I was also gifted ones that were nice, that I enjoyed, that I wanted to show off, that were great, say like affordable options, but for my collection size, it didn't make sense to keep. But there were 25 that really, really stood out to me. And I'll explain why. I'm about to get into it, but just know that you may think, I'm not ranking these, but even if I was, 25 out of 100 is still an awesome palette. So let's quit talking and go ahead and get into this. So let me talk about what's on my eyes today. I have an eyelash that's wanting to pop off. So if it does, well, it's inevitable, it's gonna happen. But this gorgeous look today was one of my favorite palettes. This is the Ascension palette by Davini Beauty. You guys, I fell madly, deeply in love with this palette and just the brand in general. I think she's so smart about her color stories. I think the quality is amazing. There was a lot of meaning behind this palette. This was dedicated to her son who passed as a baby. So it had like an emotional tie to this. I just think it performs beautifully. You've got cool tones, you got warm tones, you have gorgeous, gorgeous shimmers in here. You do have a pressed glitter that I know deterred a lot of people from purchasing this palette. It's right here in the middle. To be honest, it's not my favorite either. However, I used it for a creative look for 4th of July. I think there's a time and place for it. Just one shade not being my favorite does not discount this palette. And I did purchase this one, by the way. I'll try to tell you which ones I purchased and which ones were PR. I purchased this palette and I'm so glad that I did. I love it so much. Also, this is one that I started, I think this is one of the earlier ones this year that I was like, I'm gonna start using eyeshadows as blushes. And I did that all year round. This was the year of eyeshadows for blushes for me. And I enjoy using this shade. You can use a little bit of the lavender to mix. And then I also used the orangey shade with the red kind of mixed in. Also made a really warm, pretty blush. So loved this palette so much. And then I was so grateful that she did send me the Currency palette. So this is also in my top 25. Much brighter, bolder, summer mermaidy vibes, tropical under the sea. And what's kind of crazy to me is when I'm just looking at this objectively, not thinking about my looks, this may not be like my favorite color story. Just at this point in my life at 41, I don't know. But you guys, sometimes there's palettes that bring the best out of you. And if they're excellent quality, if it stretches your creativity, some of my best looks I've ever done were with this palette. and the feedback from people who've watched my channel when I was doing all of my palette reviews and did these looks on camera said these were the best looks they'd ever seen me do. So for that, I love it. Like, it just elevated my skills, and I didn't have to work that hard either because the formula is just so good. So definitely Davini Beauty is one to watch out for. Okay, next up we have two Gourmande Girls palettes. Now, she released several this year, the Calavera palette, also the Peach Perfect palette. I love those too. I'm just being really kind of picky and thinking about like everything that I tried and why are these gonna be in my top. So I chose Frozen Kiss, the most recent one, and Nueva Vida. And this was my girl Steph. This was her collab. And I just also, with this one, thought my looks were so good. And I know it's funny because I know a lot of people when they hear Gourmande Girls, like they like associate it with me because I've been reviewing them for so long. And you know, I loved like the Haunted and the Spooked palette, the Nightshade palette. Like there's a lot of palettes that I've really hyped up by them. But also it's funny because I've had people say when they see color stories like this, they think of me. And I don't necessarily think of myself when I see bright color stories. But I think the reason why is it's like it does bring something to life in me. I just think sometimes my better looks are with these wild, kind of bright, vibrant color stories. Whereas in my mind, my favorite color stories were more dark glam, grungy, dark romance. Like those are my favorite color stories. And I think of myself as being that person, but others seem to think of me this way. So it's interesting, you know, how people perceive you. But I thought my looks for this were also some of my best this year. So I had to choose this one. I was so happy for my girl Steph to have this collab. And then this recent one, I know my girl Britt, my dear Brittany, she also saw this and really thought of me. And I think partially because she knows that I really love cool tones, and I think she knows that Gourmande Girls has been a brand that I've, worked with for so long. So she was like, this is such a you palette. And I really, really enjoy my looks with this. There's something about these kind of romantic, kind of muted cotton candy vibes. This is sort of winter wonderland in kind of a somber way, but I really, really enjoy that. And you have some gorgeous shimmers in here as well. You have this shade. This is Snow Globe. It's just so beautiful. Really, really like my looks with this. I will say some of the lighter shades take a lot of building up, but it's okay because I think it just creates like a really, soft look if you don't build them up. So I don't mind that, but I really enjoyed this palette. Okay, now I thought I was gonna film this video yesterday actually, and sick kiddos did not happen. And I wanted to wear one of the palettes, like I have one of the palettes on my eyes today. So I wore Poison Garden yesterday thinking I was gonna film, and I didn't. But this is Beaute Bar Poison Garden, and absolutely fell in love. Oh, by the way, I did purchase this one. I did not purchase the Gourmande Girls ones. Those were PR. So this was my first step finally into Beaute Bar. It had been a long time coming. I had been wanting to try for so long, and I fell in love. I was like, I get it. I totally get it. There's just something about the vibe of it, the way that the colors blend together, the mood. Like when I say I love a dark glam, a dark grunge, a kind of like gothic glam sort of look, but in kind of like a wearable way, this is what I'm talking about. This is what really gets me excited, are color stories like this. I just also really, really loved my looks with it. And then I loved it so much that when Vamp came out, and it came out so quickly after that, I almost didn't get this because this one was more expensive than the Poison Garden, but it was a smaller palette. But I caved, I got it, and no regrets. Honestly, no regrets. Again, like dark, mysterious, but you can have a really sexy vampy looks. I mean, it's called Vamp for a reason. I love a red eyeshadow. This is another one that I feel like you can get away with using a little bit on the cheeks as well, if you want to have like a pop of red on the cheeks. I loved the quality of this. I had zero regrets. One of my favorite, it's probably the favorite brand that I finally tried in 2024 as far as eyeshadows go. All right, closely though rivaling, oh my gosh, phonics. Okay, is Cheeryep Sea Beauty. Amazing. Like, I'm sold. I'm sold on Sea Beauty. Fantastic. Probably my favorite packaging, possibly, because it's just so slim and sleek, and it's like simple but really elevated. It looks so upscale. So yes, Sea Beauty really took over their Sea Beauty Mall, and then also you can get Sea Beauty on like Yes Style. So I was sent the Fleeting Life palette, this one here. And then I loved it so much that I purchased the Monologue palette. So this one right here. You guys, the formula is just so awesome. And you have so many different ones as well. There are kind of more chunky, sparkly shimmers in here that are just really ultra glittery sparkle, but not glitter, not glitter. And then you've also got more like smooth metallics in here. You have some sort of like topper shifty shimmers. And then I personally find these mattes to be incredible. Now, I have seen some feedback and heard people say that they love these palettes, but it was a learning curve for their mattes. I don't know why, but I guess they just work for me. Like, I feel like I don't really have to blend them that much. They are really pigmented, but they're just so smooth. It's like effortless. I was blown away. I thought some of my most kind of like professional looking looks this year that looked like I had some like real blending skills. That's something I struggle with a little bit. I thought that they came from, like, especially the Fleeting Life palette. I was blown away. I think this is the future, honestly, of eyeshadow. I think indie and mainstream will always be popular, whether they deserve it or not. These are far better than, say, Natasha Denona. Yes, blows Natasha Denona out of the water, blows like Too Faced, Urban Decay, brands like that. Indie, better watch out, because like I got this one on sale for $28 and it's just as good as some high-end or expensive indie. So packaging also, it's elevated over indie as well. Very, very, very impressed. Okay, speaking of Too Faced, I put this in here, the Apple in Love palette, not because I think it's the best quality of 2024. I just thought overall color story for fall, theming, it being apple picking, apple season, the packaging, the classic tin packaging that they went back to with this. I mean, it was just, this one brings me joy. It's like one that you remember. It's a collector's piece. And I think the quality is good enough to still say it's a great palette. Really enjoy the mattes better than the shimmers in here. Too Faced shimmers are just kind of meh. You can get some pretty looks out of them. They're never going to be like outstanding eye-catching shimmers, but the mattes are pigmented. They work well. This also has a lot of shades you can use for blush as well. I just thought it was a brilliant release overall. All right, next up we have the Coastal palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. I thought the color story was so beautiful on this. It really does give like a coastal beachy vibe, sort of toned down, not as saturated, but I love that. I think that was so smart because I don't think we have a ton of palettes out there with this more, you know, muted tone. Everything either has to be like really, really bright, really neon, really neutral, but this was just a perfect kind of in between that you don't see all the time. I really love my looks with this. I had no problem with the shimmers. I know some people do get hard pan very quickly with Simply Posh. With this one, I did not, thankfully, but I really, really enjoyed this one. All right, then because I won this in a giveaway from my gorgeous friend Kelly, Highly Hazel on Instagram, I got to try the Titanium Fox's Poppy Storm, and wow, I was very, very impressed. This is one that I was kind of coveting and like, oh, my only drawback from purchasing this myself, oh, by the way, Too Faced I got in PR, yes. This one, got it in a giveaway. The only thing that draws me back from purchasing is just it really gets up there with the shipping. And I understand shipping overseas, it's expensive. I get it. It's expensive for the brand. But for me to, I think it was going to come out to 80 something. That's really hard for me to stomach these days. If you're in the UK, luckily, and you don't have to pay that like extra shipping, oh my gosh, like, what are you waiting for? You need to try Titanium Fox. Is so good. This is excellent quality. I loved my looks with this. I still am so drawn to her other couple of palettes. It's just that shipping. It's just the cost is so high, but I do still recommend it. Like if you're someone who buys 3 or 4 palettes a year and like money, you're just like, I don't care. I don't buy a ton of palettes, so I'm willing to spend, you know, almost $100 on a palette. I would recommend it. I really do. It's really excellent. For someone like me that has so many already, I get a lot in PR, and then I'm trying to be selective about what I purchase and bring in. It's a little too pricey for me, but excellent quality. All right, then we have the Blend Bunny. This is the Longing palette. Now I did purchase this myself. I just really love the cool tones in here. It's not the most diverse palette, but the formula is great. I think the shimmers are better in here than some of the older Blend Bunny palettes. I love that it's not another rainbow. It's all Blend Bunny. Sometimes seems to do. I love when they venture off into other color stories like this and they take a gamble. And is this gonna be, like, if you're just a warm tone girl, you're losing that audience with this, and I get that, but you can't put out a rainbow palette all the time. I'm bored, honestly, with a lot of Blend Bunny lately. Stuff like this excites me, and I really enjoy kind of the moodiness, the somberness of this, but it's also really beautiful. Okay, next we have 3 Nomad palettes. So I don't remember how many came out this year. Definitely at least we've got the travel palettes included. Well, there was the travel neutral palette and then the travel trio. And by the way, I didn't really include little bitty palettes in this. I do have one honorable mention at the end that is a 5 pan. But if you include those littler Nomad palettes, I think they came out with maybe like 12 this year. Somewhere around there, 10 or 12. But I chose these 3. So we have the New Zealand Stargazing palette. And you guys, I don't know what was wrong with me. This came out at the very beginning of the year. And I remember doing my video. I filmed it in my beauty room instead of here. And that's when I was doing a lot of eyeshadow palette videos on my channel. And I did them all the time. I have all kinds of color stories. And I remember just being so stumped with this palette. I thought it was really pretty, but I wasn't sure what to do with it. Like, I don't have that issue now. I like, there's so many things you can do with it, and I love it, and I think the quality's great. I love that you have the duo chromes in here. They're gorgeous. They're smooth. It is so pretty. This produces gorgeous looks. Excellent quality. Definitely in my top favorite Nomad palettes of all time. Then we have the Chicago Speakeasy palette. And again, we have the same sort of like duochromes in here, great quality. Mattes were awesome. This is one of my favorite color stories of theirs because I feel like this is how you do accessible, you know, not, you know, I don't want to say universal because this may not be everyone's cup of tea or every skin tone, but this is just more commercially sellable, I think, because of the color story without being boring. I love palettes that have some neutrals with some interesting pops of color and then multi-duochromes. I just think it's so wearable, but not boring. I think this was an excellent launch. And then we have the Five Fuji Lakes. I preferred this one so much more than the Polar Express personally. I know a lot of people thought it was really repetitive. They thought Polar Express looked just like this. I don't know. To me, no. I see what they're saying. Like there's some similarities, but like tonally, I feel like they're very different. I prefer the blues in here. Personally, they're just a little cooler tone. They're missing a green base tone to it that the Polar Express has that's just not as flattering on me personally. I also love this one for blushes. Like you guys, don't forget to use yellow for blush. It's so cool. And just try it. And the blush as an ombre with kind of the burgundy and the yellow, mustardy yellow, is really, really cool. Really love this palette. Okay, then Alter Ego came out with quite a few. Alter Ego is always doing the Inspired By palettes, mainly of Natasha Denona and Huda Beauty. And this one was the Yucca palette dupe. And I just think it's one of their best ones. I honestly, in the video that I have of this, I have the Natasha Denona on one eye, this on the other. You guys, like really, you could not tell a difference. Like maybe super up close, but even if it's a difference, it didn't mean that it was like a quality difference. And it certainly wasn't a $40 difference. So I just think this is one of their best ones. What I would love to see from Alter Ego is, I get that their name's Alter Ego and they're kind of in that corner of putting out alternative palettes, you know, to the expensive ones. And I love that option for people. I would love to see them come up with some of their own color stories as well. Still do dupes, maybe one of their own color stories, or maybe being inspired by a couple of different ones and putting them into one palette, I think would also be really, really cool, because inevitably you're gonna have people that are just brand loyal and they're never gonna try, you know, the cheaper dupe because they're Natasha Denona stans. But I think if you like changed it up a little and came up with something just a little bit more of your own, I think it would do amazing. I really, really do. All right, speaking of Natasha Denona, I was gifted also the Alter Ego Natasha Denona. I purchased this, the Rocha palette. Now, I have grown to really decide that Natasha Denona is a little bit dated in quality. And I have several palettes that I love. And what I love about my Natasha Denona palettes that I'm partial to, it's more of a color story. It's more of how it just looks on, not necessarily quality. So I love these tones. I just think it's really pretty. It's not the most diverse, but if you love purpley, pinky, red tones, what's not to love with this? It's not a bad formula. It's not the best formula, but it does the job. For me to purchase a Natasha Denona palette, I have to really want that color story. I'm not purchasing it for quality anymore. Not that it's bad quality, but there's a lot of other brands out there that have better quality now. And I think we need to quit saying Natasha Denona is at the top of quality. It's just not true. So it's more vibes, color stories, packaging. Like that's what I go off of Natasha Denona now. And I do really like this packaging. All right, now we have a cheapie. This is the Profusion Twilight palette. Kind of the same thing as Natasha Denona. It's more of a color story than like the most amazing formula in the world. But I think out of all of my really inexpensive drugstore palettes this year, this was the best one. As far as like, I love this color story. I love the moodiness of it. This is grungy, dark, it's vampire. It's what goes bump in the night. I think it's so well done as far as color story. There are two shimmers in here that are excellent. Afterglow and Moonlight. These two here, you can even tell by looking here that they're just more sparkly. The others are a little bit more subtle. They get the job done. They're good shimmers. They're not amazing shimmers. But these, if every shimmer in here was this formula, this would, oh man, it'd be hard to beat. Although the mattes are also, like, they're good, but they're not excellent in here. So I guess, you know, you guys, this is like a $14 palette, something like that for this huge palette. What more could you want, you know? I think they did a great job with the color story. This one was gifted to me. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys this. This was my honorable mention instead of waiting to the end just because it's also Profusion. I have it in here because I'm not including like little palettes, but these little sleek, slim 5 pans that came out were excellent. This was my favorite one though, the Bejeweled palette. And I just really love this color story. I just think it's really, really pretty. This would be pretty on like New Year's Eve. You got this gorgeous this is sort of like a cream, wet, slick shimmer. You guys, I mean, come on. It's really beautiful. I mean, that's a drugstore. This is like like a $5 palette or something like that, somewhere close to that. It's really, really good. Not even just for $5. Like, this is just a good 5-pan. It's better than my Natasha Denona 5-pans. It is. That's not a lie. Okay, then we have 2 of my top of my tops of my top of my tops. Now, I know I said I did not rank this. I think I could have ranked my top 10, honestly. Kind of ranking like number 25, number 21. It was just gonna be too tedious and too. Top 10 I think I could do, and these would be in there. This is Wicked Widow Beauty. If you guys were watching throughout the year in my palette, like, you know I'm obsessed with the Crow palette. I'm obsessed with the movie. I rewatched it twice when this was launching. I made my husband watch it for the first time. He had never seen it, and this was like a palette that came out and was like a whole movement for me, like an experience. Not just when I wore it one time, but the anticipation of it, oh, I want to revisit the movie that I loved so much as a teenager, the thinking back to old memories, when I got this and I wore it and then I filmed for it, it touched so many pieces of my soul. And it's very special to me. I love the quality. I love this color story. I'm a diehard. Fantastic palette. And she sold out several times. I'm so happy for her. Now, this is a newer one. This is the Tale of Terror palette. A Haunting Tale of Terror. Man, you guys, again, it's the quality. Wicked Widow Beauty, I've been talking about like color story sometimes it's quality, sometimes it's the packaging. I feel like she does it all. I think she gets color story right. Her quality is amazing. I always enjoy her packaging. It's like the whole package for me. And this is a palette that when I've worn it, I have gotten, like, out in the wild, gotten compliments on my eyeshadow. They're like stunned. So it's excellent. It is excellent. All right, we have one Adept palette. By the way, I did get the Wicked Widow Beauty in PR. This I purchased from Adept, the Cyborg Choir. You guys, this is my love for Adept it's been tainted a little for other reasons. So I can't get as excited as I used to. Taking my feelings aside about other like personal things with them, objectively, fantastic. Like, one of the best brands out there that just blows my mind. I don't get as excited because of personal reasons, but like, man, this was another one that when I was wearing it, I was just like, holy smokes. Like, the shifts, it's stunning. This kind of gives me sort of like rave 80s, even a little 90s in here. It's sort of like, but it's also modern at the same time. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the matte choices are always interesting with Adept because they don't always like make a ton of sense. I think they do with this one. I really do. I think it goes with all of the shimmers really well. So it's excellent. No matter what, it's excellent. Okay, my very last ones. Yes, well, no, okay, let me do this one. This is the Glaminatrix Barely Basic. I purchased this myself. I've had it a lot throughout the year and just, ranking videos and things like that. This is what I'm talking about when I say, like, when you have very wearable colors, but something extra to them, that you're not just, wearing a boring, basic, neutral look that no one's gonna look at twice. Like, you could wear this to work, you could wear this out and about anywhere, but people are still gonna be like, what's on your eyes? And you don't look out of place either. It's the perfect palette for that. The shimmers are gorgeous. I love the metallic ones and also the shifty toppers, and the mattes work perfectly. I think it is one of the best neutrally palettes out there. Now, my last 3 are all from Dede Signature, and I truly do believe like these are just the 3 like best quality palettes of hers. I did not include the smaller ones that was a collab with my friend Jamie, Makeup on Your Radar too, because they are the smaller ones, but those were excellent as well. But first we have the Ultimate Cappuccino, and this is a cute little palette that is just, it's another very wearable palette, I think, but you can also get some pretty outstanding, like eye-catching looks, especially with the shimmer Caramel French Toast. Man, it glows on the eyes. Like, literally looks like your eyes are glowing. It is gorgeous. I think the addition of the matte pink just really made this. I mean, look, like this, it's still pretty, but there's something about that matte pink that just makes this look extra special. Great quality here. Now, Blooming Basket really surprised me because I almost didn't purchase it because Color Story, I was like, I'm not sure. Man, I took it back because whenever I used this and did looks together, they came together, they looked amazing. Some of my best looks also this year I thought were from this one. They just work together. Like, you may not see it at first, but if you get it and play with it, they just work. Then the last one is the Fearless Holiday Palette, and this is a kind of half fall, half holiday. And this is the one that I said in my review, I'm like, please stick with this formula and this sort of format, and like, let's go. Let's go with all of the fun color stories we can do, because it does not get much better than this formula-wise. The mattes are incredible. The shimmers are incredible. It's easy to use. It's very like user-friendly as far as the blending. It created gorgeous looks. I can't wait to see what else she puts out. It's magnetic. You can switch them around too. This kind of just blew my socks off. I was like, let's go. Let's do more of this. So that's it, you guys, though. Those are my top 25 palettes out of the about 100 newer ones. Now, I used more than 100 this year, but as far as new to me or new, I used about 100, and these are my top 25. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful New Year's coming up soon. And as always, have fun shopping, budget shopping. Bye.